Afternoon to you, Russell, and thank you for coming in. So it's a busy time for yourselves as emergency services, isn't it? What do you find yourselves dealing with most during this period?
Well, thank you for having me. As you said, it is a very busy time during this festive season. As you said before in some of your earlier reports, we are dealing with a high amount of traffic collisions at the moment. We have dealt with several pedestrian vehicle accidents where people are trying to run across the highway. We have been dealing with some smaller incidents of your environmental emergencies, bee stings and things like that. But one of the biggest ones that has hit us with the high temperatures that we are currently experiencing in Gauteng and KZN is your heat-related injuries.
I want to get to the accidents in a bit, but I want to talk to the heat-related incidents. Every year, in fact, even outside of the festive season, I know ER24 is one of the organizations that are constantly communicating with people about just how to take care of themselves. Where are we getting it wrong? What should we be doing better as South Africans?
I think it's just teaching each other. All right. First of all, I've always said everyone should have some sort of basic first aid course. This is one of our initiatives, is to be very proactive out there in social media, news, interviews, things like that, is to try to teach people and say, listen, a bit of common sense, a bit of general knowledge can really make a difference and can actually save a life.
A lot of people, I was actually having this conversation with some of the guys in our newsroom. We're talking about when traveling, do I pack a first aid kit or do I just go in the hope that a hotel or a lodge that I'll be staying at would have one?
Well, this is the problem, is that lodge or that establishment that you're staying at may not have a first aid kit. So we always recommend that every vehicle that you travel in should have a comprehensive first aid kit. And these can be bought from several locations or your local pharmacies and your first aid suppliers as well. Because the incident may not occur with either yourself or the people you're traveling with, but you may come across an incident where you can render first aid.
And for those of us, I mean, times are tough, who may not have necessarily the funds to buy a first aid kit from one of the pharmacies. What do I need to have? Do I need to have bandages? What do I need to take with me?
Well, there are several things. Even if you can't buy a comprehensive kit, there are smaller ones that you can purchase or even make up yourself from your local pharmacy. One of the first things is gloves. You never touch any patient without gloves. The old wives' tales of using plastic bags and cling wrap and things like that don't work. So gloves, a CPR barrier device, which helps you do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation if you are qualified. And then you can use some of your basic first aid dressings, which have a gauze pad, an absorbent gauze pad in the middle of the bandage to help slow bleeding down, as well as some crepe bandages. And this is generally what you would need in a first aid kit.
We've just been speaking to one of our reporters, Des Ntatia, who again was on the way back to KZN. They were on a road trip for ENCA, and along the way now back home, they came across the scene of a collision, multiple vehicles involved, a lot of people clearly harmed there. What do we do in cases like that where there aren't any emergency services on scene as yet? How do we proceed?
Well, one of the first things to do is to call help. All right, so calling our 084124 number is obviously a national number. You need to get the emergency services on site as well. If you are able to stop and render assistance, being at first aid or slowing traffic down, do so safely. We have seen in the past where people just try to stop in the middle of the road and there can be a secondary and a tertiary collision and these people become patients as well. So make sure to stop in a safe area and see if you can render any first aid, even if basic. You are always making a difference.
But always remember not to touch any of the people using your bare hands.
Absolutely. Make sure that you have gloves. If you aren't able to render immediate or primary first aid, calling emergency services to the scene, maybe helping divert traffic, is still helping nonetheless.
We also aren't allowed necessarily to just move people who are badly injured, are we?
That is a very tough question, and we always say life over limb. So if the patient is not in immediate harm, for example, if the car is well alight or has burst into flames, removing the patient immediately is preferable. That's where we look at life over the limb. If there is no immediate danger, rather leave the patient where they are and remind them to keep as still as possible. If you try to move the patient, you could exacerbate any injuries they may have.
So your one bit of advice that you're giving to everyone who's going away this holiday period or staying at home, what would that be?
Sure, there's always more than one piece of advice.
Give us two. Your top two.
Make sure to have a first aid kit, always, and know your emergency numbers. Right, we are still seeing a high number of calls where people are calling the local authorities. Your 1011 And obviously this is not a medical emergency number. So know your numbers in your area and know your hospitals, know your routes. And this is generally how to have a safe festive season.
I said I'd give you two, but one other thing, I remember there was quite a drive a few years ago to encourage all of us to have at least one contact or two who are saved in case of emergency. Absolutely. Are you seeing a lot of people doing that, or has it sort of fallen off over the years?
This is one of the initiatives we're still trying to push, is your in case of emergency or ICE in front of any emergency contacts on your phone. Most smartphones now actually have it that we can access these ICE contacts without having the password of your phone. So it just gives us the ICE contact and the telephone number where we can phone and say, we have got this person that looks like this. Where can we take them? This is what's happened. It gives us a bit of basic information that is vital to us.
Russell, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.